joined by two-thirds of the Detroit psychedelic rock band Sisters of Your Sunshine Vapor. I've got the drummer, Richard Sawasinski, and the bass player, Eric Opitz, with me. The other host, Petra Shortshoe, is out on sabbatical. Now, you recently released an album in, I believe it was October of 2017. Why don't you tell me a little bit about Lavender Blood?
Well, Greg.
All right, fuck off. So, welcome to What a Disaster, where we watch, discuss, and review a disaster movie just as close to weekly as we can possibly stand. This week, I'm actually here with two-thirds of Detroit psych rock band Sisters of Your Sunshine Vapor.
Hello.
It's actually Eric Opitz.
Yep.
And it's actually Rick Sawasinski.
Yeah. And so you're always here with 1/3.
I was gonna say he's always here.
Yeah,
so
33% of the band is here every single time.
You don't want 100%.
I don't know that we could handle 100%, but I know that the only reason Sean didn't come today is because we didn't invite him. So
We're not going to fix that.
He's actually standing outside. Right
he's just crying softly right now into his steering wheel of his Porsche.
It's only Fred.
He's rubbing his genitals on the steering wheel and
Making sure everybody knows it's his.
So this week we as usual we let our guest pick the film, and Eric chose Airplane. That's with an exclamation point. What year was this? This was
1980.
1980.
Not well before, but at least a year before I was born.
Yeah, it's a year before I was born. Probably made in 79. So
Sure.
Oh, I'm supposed to read this paragraph that Richard wrote. I feel so bad. Hang on. Today, Eric wanted to kill us with laughter and white guilt, so he chose the 1980s satire Airplane. Eric, why did you pick this movie? And in your opinion, what makes it a disaster movie?
All right. So I picked this movie based on my experience growing up with it, in that I honestly didn't even remember the context of the movie. I didn't remember ever actually watching the movie all the way through, but it was on repeat a decade and a half later after it was made on Comedy Central. So it was just like, I just remember coming home from school or like on the weekend, this movie was just on. It was always on. It was just nonstop. And you'd just pick it up in some random spot and there'd be like a handful of jokes and you would laugh. And then you'd move on with your day and you'd watch 15 minutes of it. And I don't think I've ever sat down and actually watched the movie front to back until yesterday. The reason I picked it is because I have zero tolerance for movies. I don't like big budget movies. I'm not a big fan of...
This is a big budget movie, Eric.
I know it's a big... I know, but I'm not a big fan of like... I like really artsy movies.
This is an artsy movie.
So you loved, what was that? The Lobster... Human Lobster or Lobster Man. What was that movie called? Did you see that
I actually
one?
didn't even see that because it's just like almost too pop culture for me. I'm not.
Shape of Water?
The Shape of
Did you see The Shape of Water?
I haven't.
The Shape of Water was...
I know what it is, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's a movie.
Have you seen Pan's Labyrinth?
I have. I like that movie.
Excellent. Same director.
Yeah.
Same visual style. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a huge movie fan. Like I like very certain movies, very particular about my movies, but I don't spend a lot of time. Last movie I saw in the movie theater was probably was Hunger Games, the first one.
Like the first Hunger Games?
Yeah, like was that 5 years ago?
Yeah, with Lauren.
I don't even.
Lauren
I think it might have been longer than 5
Yeah,
years.
that's
ago.
how
It's
often
been
I go to the movie
Hunger
theater.
Games.
And you and I saw Scott Pilgrim together.
Which is probably
That's older too.
Yeah,
which
it
was
was
probably the last time I was in the movie theater.
Yeah.
I mean, I go to the art house every once in a while, maybe once a year, but I'm not a big, massive movie guys. I watch documentaries and I watch like old Stanley Kubrick movies, and I'm just so this was just like a pure nostalgic thing, and it was not. It was me grasping at straws for something that I could actually get through, and then when I sat down and got through it, I was like, oh yeah, this is not totally how I remember this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. We had to do a little arm twisting to get Eric to come in to record with us. I was very glad when he agreed to do it.
He wasn't
and
gonna
especially
sit through,
picking
like,
a good
Armageddon.
movie.
Yeah, I won't sit through Armageddon. I won't sit through like
Thank God.
28 Days Later, or actually maybe 28 Days Later. Is that a disaster movie?
Yeah, zombie
Yeah,
movies can count.
I would call that a disaster. movie.
I've seen that. What's the Will Smith movie with the
I
aliens.
Am Legend or Independence Day.
Independence Day. I would not.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't. I have better things to do with my life than sit through that movie.
Again.
I would rather come here and hang out with you guys and talk about it than watch it.
yeah, me too.
And that's fine too. We can
Honestly, that's
always
why we
have you
watch
on
these.
if you don't want to watch it, and we're looking for people to come on. You can just talk to us about the movie you've never
I'll
seen.
talk to you guys about.
Read an IMDb plot synopsis and pretend you saw it. That's fine.
Honestly, like the reason, like we don't like some of these movies, and we enjoy talking about them more than we enjoy watching them, which is why we watch them, so we can talk about
Right,
them. Yeah,
right.
for sure. And I've been friends with Eric for a decade now, and we've been in a band for a long time. We tour, we spend a lot of time together.
You've
I
been
think
in
half
two
the-
bands together now.
Yeah, 2 bands together. I think like probably half the movies you've seen in the last decade you've seen with me.
Probably.
Like new or old or whatever. Just watching film. You and I watch. So it's not fair to say you don't enjoy film. You're actually like an advocate of film. You watch a lot of film, but like you're very picky about what else you add to your hard drive at this point. know?
No, I love film. I love the process of it. I'm very conscious of what I will spend my brain space on, I guess. And
Yeah, I mean, if somebody doesn't like candy, they're not just going to go grab the first thing they see at 7-Eleven. They're going to be more particular. They're
exactly.
gonna-
And there's nothing wrong with like, hey, I can sit down for an
I
hour
feel
and a
very
half
judged and,
and
attacked
watch.
right now by you, so it doesn't matter that you.
We've done 10 episodes of this. So basically, you said the last 10 episodes of our life have been
Complete
useless.
garbage. You said that
garbage.
we
Complete
wasted our
useless.
time
Yeah, you guys are
watching it
losers.
and then recording it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are losers.
Which is why we invited you, because we don't like to be told. how
So I
good
picked
we
the
are.
most racist movie that was available.
You know, at
No,
least
you didn't. No, you did not.
Yeah.
But like, good
at
job
least this
picking it.
like I mean obviously it was a different time, but it was addressing race in a different way via satire, whereas it seems like anything that tries to touch anything white people make that tries to touch base with race as far as comedy is concerned is just so far off the mark that it's ridiculous.
It always falls flat 20 years later.
So,
in a white
let me-
person's filter.
The way I kind of feel about it is this: the people that lament there are not movies being made like Blazing Saddles are the same kind of people that wish they could just say the N-word in public.
Yeah, I agree. Blazing Saddles did its job, and you can't go back and redo something that, like,
It's a product of its time.
Yeah.
You can't just go. You can't make the same movie and pretend that it exists in a vacuum. That's just not how it works.
there's an argument to be made for movies like this, movies like Blazing Saddles, that what it does for race is it points out the absurdity of racism, but you can't keep continuing doing that without being the racist. It's the same reason
Right. It
Dave Chappelle
uses-
stopped doing the Chappelle
Right,
show.
exactly. It uses racism to point out how absurd racism actually is.
Yeah, but then at some point you're just a racist.
So and you asked me why I picked this movie, and part of the reason I think
Was the
this
seaweed scene here?
yes,
Yeah.
where they're making out on the beach here.
We don't get this, by the way. This is based off some movie that we've never seen and never heard of. A lot of
Oh,
these jokes are-
the-
a lot of these jokes are.
I'm
yeah.
gonna put this out there. This movie's pretty dated.
Yeah.
there
A
are
lot of
some
these-
there are some pop culture references from 1980 that I am never ever gonna understand.
So, but the reason why I picked this and like I said was my experience with it, and I think it's really interesting to think of it as how we're speaking about it now in the context of the world that we live in now, in the political climate that we live in now, and how it stands up to that. But there's something to be said that this movie was basically on repeat on Comedy Central, like.
Through the 90s,
Yes.
pretty much. Yeah, from as soon as Comedy Central was available on basic cable, this was on it once a week.
Oh, anyone that's like in their like 30s has seen this movie multiple times.
Absolutely, and it was made before any of us were born.
I used to watch it on
Exactly.
TNT when I was 6. It would just be on repeat, and I thought the autopilot. thing
You
was
had
pretty
bad
cool.
parents.
Yeah, yeah, terrible parents. My grandparents raised me. They would fall asleep.
I
and
remember
would watch
watching this with my dad.
Yeah, I definitely watched this with my dad too. So
Yeah. So I think that's something that has like, if you want to talk about how it has pushed that conversation forward a little bit, a decade and a half later, and it's still doing that. I feel like maybe I was too young to understand that what political climate it was in at that point, but it clearly had changed since it was made. So I think there's something interesting about that, you know.
yeah.
There's also doing some research on this film. There's some things that I found out, and I will talk about as we move through the plot. There's some things that I found out that soften that blow a little bit more. It's this movie needs to be taken in context, and you got to do your research on the context. Otherwise, some of the jokes are going to seem a lot more racist than what they actually are.
Remember when you tried to tell me that this movie was made as a parody of Zero Dark 30?
Was that wrong?
Zero Hour from
1957.
Thank you.
Zero
I'm
Dark
sorry.
30 is definitely like a movie about somebody being downed in enemy lines.
You understand
Oh
what
no,
I
that
did?
was the Bin Laden thing, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yeah. You
I knew
understand
that.
what I did there, though.
I
right?
even knew
Yeah, you
that.
understand
I
what
don't
did
know
there.
shit, and I knew that.
Dick's
So-
brain isn't so good
No,
sometimes.
I crammed
No.
this.
You can just admit it.
Yeah, it's short circuit.
No, that's not what I said.
It's not
You
good.
say what I said.
I don't. My brain doesn't brain.
That's not what I said.
It's just so good sometimes.
This is my favorite joke. He's like, "Hey, I know you. You're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar." He's like, "My dad says you don't hustle on defense."
So I want to talk about that 0 Hour movie we were talking about.
Yeah.
So they also had it was a basketball player, a football player, who was a co-pilot in that movie. So that joke's a deep cut for that movie. They were like, "Oh, look, we have an athlete too, but we're gonna pretend like he's not an athlete, but everybody knows he's an athlete."
But we weren't born in 1957, let alone watching
Yeah.
movies in 1957. Hell, my parents were barely born in 1957. I think my mom was born in like 56 or 55. She was certainly not watching 0 Hour.
So how they found that movie actually was they were writing sketch comedy, and they were writing sketch comedy, and they didn't have a whole lot of ideas, so they would stay up really late and watch late night television. They would tape it. They would tape late night television
like with a camcorder.
Yeah.
They were pointing at the TV. Yeah.
and then rip it off like verbatim.
Yeah,
to-
it's Richard actually wrote one of that down. There was a line in 0 Hour that was kind of not meant to be funny in that, but turned into so it was, we have to find someone who can not only fly this plane, but who didn't have fish for dinner. Like, literally pulled straight from the movie. That's amazing.
Yeah, no, you're right. These are the same guys who made Kentucky Fried Movie, which kind of came back into pop culture like in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Again, and,
Yeah.
and it's kind of interesting.
Man, how old are those guys?
I don't know if they're even alive. I didn't look to see like if they're still alive. Jim Abrams and David Zucker though are the guys. There's actually 3 directors. The other guy gets kind of. I didn't even write them down. It's one of the only movies that has 3 directors. They had a fight with the Screen Actors Guild or whatever, American Film Association or something. They have 3 directors. This movie, Greg, $3.5 million
In 1980 money? How much is that in now money?
over 12 million, almost $13 million.
Almost $13 million.
So compare that to a current movie like how
Man,
big is that?
$13 million is like nothing.
That's a really tight.
That's
a
an
really
indie flick. That's
like
legit like a
Steve Carell movie
rom-com or something.
That's a Steve Carell movie.
Yeah,
That's still solid. That's a solid budget.
That's like that is certainly not summer blockbuster money.
Sure.
No,
That's absolutely like I'm going
world
to
is
release
changing.
around Christmas time and hope that we make it back.
but guess what
kind
this
of
thing
money.
made?
Bad Santa 2.
Bad Santa 2. You know what? I'm going to look up the budget of Bad Santa 2. Bad
year.
Santa 2 cost $26 million.
There you go.
The budget for Bad Santa 2,
What?
$26 million.
What?
Bad Santa 2, the budget was $26 million.
Okay, I got that. Tom.
Whoever thought that was a good idea?
Bad Santa 2 made $23.2 million in the box office, which means it didn't even really break even. I am surprised that it didn't do better because it's getting 23% in Rotten Tomatoes.
But so Airplane is like killing it.
Yeah. No, Airplane made the first year. I didn't adjust this for inflation. I forgot to do that.
What's the
83 million before inflation. Okay. And it made 130 million worldwide. And that was in the first year.
$253 million today.
Woo.
Yeah.
First year.
That is
First year.
bucks.
That's big bucks for a movie that costs pennies comparatively. Yeah.
It's because of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, for sure.
He made $35,000 on this movie. That's it.
That's what he was paid.
He was paid. He was offered 30, but he wanted to buy Oriental rug, so they gave him 35.
Wow. $5,000 in 1980 money for an Oriental rug?
Yeah.
Man. Well, while we are waiting for the air traffic controllers to clear us for takeout off, we will go to a
When's the
break.
Chinese food get here?
And when we return, we will dig into the opening Chinese food of the hilarious thriller.
Stand by for the most extraordinary chain of events ever swept up into high adventure.
Hey, Larry, where's the forklift?
Forklift! It's over there for the baggage loader.
Airplane. Airplane is drama.
This is Dr. Brody at the Mayo Clinic. There's a passenger on your Chicago Flight 209, a little girl named Lisa Davis, en route to Minneapolis. She's scheduled for a heart transplant. I want you to make sure that she's kept in a reclined position and that a continuous watch is kept on her IV.
Airplane is action. Airplane is romance.
I love you, Elaine.
I love you.
Airplane is music.
There is only one river, there is only one sea.
Airplane is dancing.
Staying alive, staying alive. Staying alive.
Never has the screen been so big.
You ever been in a cockpit before?
No, sir, I've never been up in a plane before.
Peter Graves.
You ever seen a grown man naked?
All right, we are back with Eric and Richard. We are discussing Airplane! It has an exclamation point.
It does. Thank you
So.
for finally adding that.
Oh, so yeah, you blew the fuck out of that microphone.
Did I
oh,
clip?
It's gonna
Good.
sound like garbage.
No, I'm gonna love
love
it. It's gonna be
That's
perfect.
That's the best when that happens. All right. We're feeling good then. We're doing fine. So we're back. We're watching Airplane with Eric is our special guest this week from Sisters of Your Sunshine Vapor, the best psych rock band in Southeast Michigan as far as I'm concerned.
Well, best psych rock band in the country.
Yeah, frankly, it's the best psych rock band I've ever listened to an album from.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've
heard
never
of it.
listened to an
Yeah,
entire Pink
exactly.
Floyd album. I have listened to entire Sisters of Your
There you
Sunshine
go.
Vapor.
So you're not
albums.
lying.
So
Yeah, thanks by the way for doing that. I mean, I gave you money, but you did it. And
it
that's
was
what
like
matters.
$6, and then you made me give it to you for the tip for the restaurant. Come on.
I left my wallet in the car, Greg.
Yeah,
I left my wallet in the car at my house in Canada.
That is the only reason we didn't.
He
go back
left
for
his
it.
wallet on tour twice, actually.
Left his wallet.
Yeah, yeah.
It got
of
shipped
course
to
he
me.
did.
And then we had to like get it
Oh, no,
shipped to
actually
the like
had to get it
next
shipped?
tourist stop. Yeah. We're like it's somewhere in Oklahoma, and there's like this. We just happened upon this random. We're in Oklahoma. There's this random place where I order parts to build guitar pedals out of, and I'm like, hey, I know this random place in Oklahoma we can get your wallet shipped to because I spend money there. And I like wrote them an email. I'm like, hey, can we have something overnighted to you? And they're like, I guess, but that's kind of weird. And then we showed up and they're like, who the hell are you? And I'm like, hey, we had a wallet shipped here.
That's yeah. I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah,
right?
we're being very flexible here. I'm like,
I got
hey,
my
what
wallet.
can we do to get your wallet back?
I think you can. I think you can.
Yeah,
Have
we
stuff,
got it. It worked.
You can have stuff just sent to post offices.
I didn't know that.
Mostly, I focus on. Oh, we're talking about the movie again. Cut. The
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. Yeah. So
Opening
opening
the Jaws scene.
the Jaws scene. Were you a fan of the Jaws scene?
Well, yeah, this movie opens with the Jaws scene.
It's actually like when I rewatched this, it was such a surprise to me. I've seen this movie, like I said, like so many times in like little clips. That was not something that I remember, and I love practical effects.
Oh yeah. So this was done with a bunch of like, they just used cotton candy because the cotton candy has that nice little stringy like.
Oh, the airplane. Yeah.
They took some cotton
And
candy.
they got they
took a triangle. They attached it to like a string, and it just moved it. There's a hand underneath, or attached to a stick. There's a hand underneath all that the clouds moving that stupid airplane fin around.
But they
I love
have
it.
but they have the Jaws music too.
Yeah.
And then you see the title, which is I think it might be for Futuro, not 100% on that, but it's very close.
It's very, very close.
Yeah,
If it's not, it's the kerning looks a little off to be Futura.
Yeah, but the
But,
kerning
yeah.
does you can adjust that.
You can adjust
And Futura looked a little more round in some places too, but that's all right.
This is definitely.
It's very, very close. So I'm not. You're the designer, so you probably would know better.
But
than
the font, other than the Jaws theme, the font is really the first joke. It's like all the old movies at that time, all the airplane movies at that time. Like there were tons of these airplane disaster movies at that time. They were all had this big font. Like
It's a great
whoa.
font. I'm not gonna lie, I do really like that font.
The score for this movie has actually been re-released on vinyl.
Was it a?
Because it's funny. That's like the joke. Like they keep the joke going. Like
All the subtitles, because I watch these movies with subtitles to do notes, all the subtitles explain how the music sounds. It'll be like really nice soft music. Because like the music does set the scenes for the jokes. So I guess the music is important. It does say Jaws music because they're like, we fucking paid for Jaws music.
We're gonna
show Jaws music.
Even the deaf people will know that this was Jaws theme.
Yeah.
Dun, dun. So you can't go beat by beat. We would be on every single joke in this movie.
No,
it would take us.
If you read
5
my
million
notes,
hours.
I took all the jokes out.
You took all the okay. We're gonna do. We should have just been 100% serious through this one because that would have been the funny way to handle it.
We see a pretty flight attendant walking through the terminal while there are two announcers having a minor disagreement over which zone is for loading and unloading. So Ted at the beginning of this movie, he's like, I want you back. Like, I'm sorry, I'll grow up, I'll change. And when Elaine's like, I'm not going to take you back, the first thing he does is punches somebody just asking him for money.
Yeah.
Like,
no, but I think the joke there is actually more of a pop culture joke. They were always at the airport trying to like recruit people.
Yeah.
The pop culture like was to push back against that big time. Like
Yeah.
they were very annoying, like weird,
the handing out the poppies and
like way beyond hippie-esque people at this point in the 70s. They were like
that's something
I've taken so much acid that I found Jesus.
Full circle.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to experience that now, especially now in the United States, because you can't even get into an airport unless you have a ticket.
Exactly. Oh, that's another thing about this movie is like you want to talk about all the FAA regulations that are being missed. No, it is funny though. You see like the post 9/11, like
Yeah, it's an entirely different world.
But they make fun of the security in this movie too, though. They're like, this lady's taking all this metal, like this like fake leg.
That's a guy. Yeah, he takes off the fake leg and the fake hand.
Yeah.
They still make fun of it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's probably a lot that even we missed, having seen it a million times as kids, that is just a cultural reference that we will never have any link to.
So one seeing it as a kid that's seen this right now, the Mayo Clinic, never would have got that.
Jars of
totally
mayonnaise
never got
behind
that.
I did like the heart jumping around on his desk though.
Yeah. So he's talking to his doctor, and his doctor has a heart just jumping around on his desk.
It's bouncing around
and
him.
he's telling them, like, we have this little girl. She needs a heart transplant. She's going to be on the airplane. And all I can think about is this doctor's going to kill this little girl.
Maybe he is bleeding edge. I mean, he's got that heart. Clearly that heart is alive and
It's
functioning.
a pet heart. Yeah.
Why are you
It is.
flying commercial if you have a heart condition? Wouldn't you be like in?
I don't. Do they have cross country medical flights for that? I don't know how that works.
But so Ted
Nobody wants
decides
to
to
punch people.
get on the plane because Elaine won't take him back, but Elaine's a flight attendant. He's like, you know what? Fuck that. I'll just get on the plane. I'll go to Chicago with her, and then she'll take me back. Also, 1970s, smoking on airplanes. What a time.
Was that a thing you could smoke in the planes? In
Yeah,
the
no, they
70s?
asked him
I
if
mean,
you wanted smoking.
Yeah,
section
no,
or not.
that's crazy.
But like, there is a little girl who needs a heart transplant
On that plane,
and you're gonna subject her to secondhand smoke.
Yeah.
I mean,
that
she's already
seems-
dying.
I'm really concerned for this little girl on this plane.
Right there, that's where he's buying the ticket.
Yeah.
And he's right at the gate buying that ticket.
Yeah.
It just does not happen that way anymore.
No, he walked up to the gate. He didn't even have to go through security. He just walked up to the gate.
Yeah. So there are a lot of visual gags throughout this movie, and
We're not going to be able to retell.
we're
the
never
jokes.
going to be
The
able to
jokes
do
are
it
funny.
justice. So
Yeah.
I want our listeners to know, both of our listeners need to hear that this movie has some really great visual gags, and they should watch it. Absolutely watch this movie.
If we each had to pick a favorite visual gag, what's your favorite visual
Man,
gag?
favorite visual gag of the movie? I mean,
Mine-
it doesn't really count, but Otto.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the autopilot.
Yeah,
pilot,
the
right?
autopilot.
You can't not talk about the autopilot, right?
Right. I mean, he's got his own IMDb page apparently.
Yeah. Auto the autopilot.
Otto the autopilot.
So speaking of Otto, they even have to. The gratuitous blowjob joke is like the obvious joke that they had to make.
right.
There's a scene early on in this movie where there's a plane on the runway that loses control and bumps and breaks through the glass of the airport. And my first thought was seeing this is like, who would still fly after seeing that? in that airport. Wouldn't you just go home? You're like, done. I'm done with today.
Yeah.
This is not done. But then I was reading some information.
But what if
and
you're not at home? You're at the airport. You're not at home. You're trying to get home. You can't go home.
I still want to. I would tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. I'll walk. But no, I was reading this article and they said that a lot of pilots said that they've done that they have lost control of their airplane in the runway or while taxiing because it's slippery or whatever, and they've bumped that glass in the terminal. One guy said he has literally bumped the glass in the terminal.
That would be terrifying.
Yeah, that happens.
I don't know that it would be normal, but it
Normal
at least
enough.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did a freeze frame here. We've been talking a little bit about the racism of this movie and how it addresses certain things. And the no smoking sign from the translation from English to Spanish.
Hell no, you
So dumb.
smoko.
El Noa you smoko for no smoking. Fasten seatbelts. Putana de seatbelts.
That was high humor in 1980.
That's
Donna D. seatbelt.
so. If you're sensitive to that sort of thing, this may not be the movie for you. I don't know that it's the height of the fragile white ego, but it's pretty close in some of these scenes.
I wasn't kidding about the white guilt when I said
No,
there's
sir.
so much of it.
So the plot of the movie is we're getting onto this plane. There's a girl needs a heart. That's kind of one of the subplots. But Ted wants to win back Elaine after he dealt
Being
with
a bad boyfriend, I think.
some PTSD from being in the war and wants to win her back.
He
So
won't get a job. He won't get a job.
They had some relationship issues. This is all pre-film. We don't see the issues. Ted is definitely trying to win Elaine back. She's a flight attendant on the plane, and he decides that he's going to fly with her and win her back at the destination of this plane, which was Chicago, I think you said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all going to Chicago.
So they don't really have a choice once they're in the air. I mean, what are they going to? Let's split up, guys. We're only 35,000 feet above the earth.
I brought my parachute. You brought your parachute?
Yeah. So he gets on the plane. They're going to go to Chicago. He's gonna win her back and all that good stuff. And there are problems on the plane.
Yeah. A lot of fog.
A lot of fog.
A lot of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in this.
But let's not forget, the real problems start when dinner gets served.
Oh, the dinner.
Yeah, we get to meet all the passengers first. Like, we get to meet a couple passengers, meet a couple black guys who speak jive.
But that's how you meet them as the flight attendants are serving
Fair
dinner.
enough.
That's how they introduce all the characters.
They do a really great job keeping the character introductions going while driving the plot forward in this.
Yeah. Are you having steak or fish?
Steak or fish? I'm gonna have the steak because I know what's happening here. So
Yeah. Well, see, I don't like steak, so I would have eaten the fish.
I would have gone fish, yeah.
I would have went fish on this one.
two-thirds of us would be dead.
Yeah.
Or
Or violently ill anyway. It turns out that the people that are eating the fish, which includes the pilot, are
Both
getting
pilots.
Both pilots, yeah, the pilot and the co-pilot,
Captain Over and Captain Murphy.
which does cause some gags. So, over Murphy, yeah. Over. So, they both get violently ill, and there is now no one to fly the plane. But Ted, Stryker used to be a pilot.
And he didn't eat fish.
And he had the steak.
But that's the whole gag. It was like, we need a pilot who didn't eat fish.
Which I can't believe they actually managed to pull that line from a real movie that was not.
What
meant
is the
to be
actual line?
funny.
The actual line is,
We have to find someone who can not only fly this plane, but who didn't have fish for dinner. Throughout the flight, we get a lot of flashbacks to Ted and Elaine's relationship because clearly that's the driving force behind this story and not the fact that a bunch of people are about to die when this plane crashes because there are no pilots.
well, the biggest problem is Elaine doesn't even suggest Ted. She knows Ted has flew planes in the war.
Yeah.
She knows that Ted's dealing with some problems, but she also knows that everybody's been poisoned with fish and they have zero options for people to fly this plane.
She encountered him on the flight, right?
Yes, and she knows he's on the flight.
Yeah.
They talked. She said, "What the fuck are you doing here?" Like she should have said, because that's fucking weird and crazy. And she never mentions though that Ted.
She doesn't trust him. He's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why should he mention him?
Right. She doesn't want to put her life at risk. She'd rather crash and die.
Yeah.
Wait.
Like maybe there's another pilot.
Right.
There's a chance, right?
They're being discreet. They're avoiding him deliberately in the hopes that they find someone that's not going to get them killed.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Right.
They're saying there's a chance. But the other flight attendant does find Ted and goes, she's talking to everybody because that's a good way to, and she's actually making all the passengers panic. She's like, excuse me, everything's okay. Everything's fine. Do you know how to fly a plane?
What is the discreet
But
way
meanwhile,
to do
the
that?
visual joke is they're dragging the other pilots passed out through the entire cabin,
I don't know where they're going with them. Most of the stuff that you need in a
and
plane
everybody's
is at the
like
front,
just
but,
reading
you know.
their magazines, like
My
whatever.
notes are
the
like,
pat-
my notes are
pilots
one to
passed
flight
out.
attendants dispose of the body. I'm assuming she just threw him out
Right.
the back door.
You
Like,
just shoved him down a hatch somewhere and called
the
it a
toilet,
day.
like arms first.
Can we talk about this Saturday Night Fever stuff?
Yeah, this is a little gratuitous. Like,
Everything in this movie is gratuitous.
yeah,
I feel
but
like
this is probably my least favorite scene.
There was a lot of disco backlash in this time.
Yeah, by 80, disco was like the most angering.
There's
form
a
of
scene later
music.
on which they knocked down the tower of a disco radio station. So, but this is important because we may have our first death here. But
Somebody got stabbed.
I'm not certain if this guy is our first death or not because they don't say he died. But
I'm calling that a first death because he
But-
got stabbed right in the spine with
I
a
wanna
knife.
say-
And
I want-
she's like doing the over the back thing.
Yeah,
He's like
yeah.
trying to point
He's
to it.
trying
and
to
she's
get-
just like thinks it's the dance move.
because she's a sociopath, she lets him die. Like just like she was willing to let everybody in the plane die.
She was
Yeah.
watching the life fade from his eyes.
No, 'cause-
she knew he was
Because
dead.
when Ted walks up to her, she's trying to help. She's looking down at him, and she looks up, and Ted distracts her.
If the guy that got stabbed
Here's our
wasn't
second
the first
death.
death,
No, because
Second
our
death,
first-
the
so-
old lady
I was
hangs
gonna say
herself.
our first death is either the guy who gets stabbed or the lady who hangs herself
from having to listen to
from
that
having to listen to the story.
about-
Yeah.
on the very high ceilings in the airplane.
Yes.
because those are very high
Because it's like
ceilings.
Wicked Witch of the West shoes.
Yeah, you just see her legs hanging. So if you've been on an airplane, you know that ain't gonna happen. So, but also they don't have the same kind of overhead bins in this flight as there are in modern flights.
But so Elaine's a sociopath, maybe even a psychopath, and Ted's a serial killer.
But he saves the entire plane.
Yeah.
except for those,
Except for the 3 people he murdered.
except for the people that killed themselves listening to him. The hanging was before seppuku, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Seppuku's next.
Yeah.
So Elaine brings the
young man,
the young
Timmy.
Yeah, Elaine brings the young man into the cockpit.
Oh, the
to meet
pedophile
pilots.
scene. Yeah, pedophilia is hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you ever fuck a dude?
No.
You're 12.
That
It's
was
like-
that was one of the lines too. Did you ever fuck a dude? You're 12.
You ever
Boom.
seen a grown man naked?
You just nailed that
No.
one.
No. You want to know the truth?
I saw it already in your notes, but
yeah.
why don't
One
you
of the
tell the
actual
world?
lines was, "You ever seen a grown man's cock?" And they took it out. They took it out because
Why? Because obviously. why?
Right. I can't imagine why asking a 12-year-old if he's ever seen a grown man's cock would be inappropriate for a fucking movie.
Pit. Like, he just say cock though, and like, that was the original script. It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Have you ever seen a grown man's cock pit?
Honestly, all the racism, all this stuff, the thing that bothered me the most, pedophilia jokes. It's not funny.
Yeah, no,
it's just not funny to me. It's the lines are funny. The implication is
The implication is certainly not funny. No.
It is. Ever been to a Turkish prison is a hilarious line to say to an adult, not a 12-year-old boy. It just doesn't make me laugh.
Sorry, not to bring it down, but my what I was gonna say was my favorite joke was he's like, I know who you are. You're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's like, my dad says you don't hustle on defense.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
And he gets
joke.
all mad.
Yeah.
He gets so mad.
But like,
so that's paired right after.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a grown man naked?
Yeah.
And then it's like, hey, I know who you are. You're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
I love how the movie like progresses too. He's like, I'm not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Fuck you. I'm
and then he just grabs the kid and gets in his face.
basically tells him his dad's an asshole.
How tall was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Like 6'7" or something?
I don't know,
I mean,
he's
he's
a
a
pretty tall guy.
giant.
But later on, they wheel him out of there because he eats a fish too, and he has like the because every scene he's a little more
No,
Kareem
he has
Abdul-Jabbar.
the
Oh yeah,
shorts
Shorts
He's
and the
wearing
goggles
short-
on.
Those short shorts that they wore in the like
and then knee
70s
pads,
and
and they
80s.
just pull him out.
And a kid
Yeah.
pulls a basketball out from underneath the console at some point. Like, it's just,
What did they do
not
with the
funny.
corpses of the people that they had to listen to Ted's stories?
they stored him.
Oh
with
no!
the
No,
pilots.
even the pilots, everybody. They don't even explain that. They don't even explain like
Where are the
what happened
bodies?
to everyone that ate the fish.
Back of the plane.
Like
Who cares?
that when the plane lands, like obviously Ted Stryker lands the plane safely, but what happens to all the people that ate the fish?
Well, there's another guy. I mean, this movie goes pretty
Dead
quick
or
at
rushed
this
to the
point.
hospital, I guess.
Apparently,
I
I
mean,
don't know.
So now we
that was the deaths were a subplot. The disaster is actually a subplot to the Ted and Elaine love story.
Yeah, it's a rom-com. Sorry,
You're right.
Yeah.
This is
I
a
picked the
rom-com.
wrong movie.
Oh my god, I didn't even realize it until you said that.
It is a rom
How
com.
dare you make me watch a chick flick? We're going to take a quick break while Eric takes a tinkle.
Yeah.
And we'll be back in just a minute.
Flight 209er, you are cleared for takeoff.
Roger. Huh?
LA departure frequency 123.9er.
Roger. Huh? Request vector. Over. What?
Flight 209er, clear for vector 324.
We have clearance, Clarence. Roger, Roger. What's our vector, Victor?
Tower radio clearance over.
That's Clarence, over.
Over. Roger.
Huh?
Roger, over. What? Hey! Who?
And we are back with What a Disaster. We're talking about Airplane from 1980, still with Eric and Rick here. Liz left us today. Does she just hate us, or does she not want to do the podcast anymore?
She doesn't like me very much.
Or does she just not like Eric?
She said if Eric was going to be here, she would rather be just about anybody that plays
Okay.
With the Blue Sky beer from Mr. Blue Sky.
Yeah, Blue Sky beer. So
Griffin Claw beer, because this was the closest thing that we could find to an airplane.
I mean, I would say
beer.
Mr. Blue Sky is pretty much.
We looked for a long time.
I mean, if anybody is Mr. Blue Sky, it's fucking Ted. First, he thinks that this lady that just told him how much she hates his guts and is not going to deal with him is going to
Take him back.
take him back. I mean, that's some optimism right there, Mr. Blue Sky. Plus, he does save everyone's lives.
Yeah.
So
to Ted Stryker.
to Ted Stryker
and his drinking problem.
and his drinking
problem. I will
I'm not
pour
pouring this on my
beer
face.
all over my face.
one of the visual gags that people will not pick up on in our show.
They were a little disappointed, the creators of this movie, that people didn't laugh as much about some of the inside jokes, like the watermelon dropping in Dispatch or like somebody throwing a spear. But even after reading that, I still don't understand those jokes or why I should have been laughing at them.
Yeah, there are a lot of those where it's just weird non sequiturs or seeming non sequiturs. I mean, I guess I don't know because I wasn't really alive in 1980.
Well, this is a micro movie too. This movie was actually originally made as Kentucky Fried Airplane. It was supposed to be a Kentucky Fried Movie sequel, and it's supposed to be Kentucky Fried Movie is a bunch of clips, like it's a bunch of like
A
smaller
bunch of short skits, basically.
Yeah, and this was supposed to be a longer skit within Kentucky Fried Movie too, but they liked it so much that they went ahead and made it into a bigger film. So,
I mean, they did good by making that decision, I feel like.
But I feel like some of those jokes are Kentucky Fried jokes.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I don't quite get. Maybe I would get if I went back and watched the full catalog.
So are we reviewing Mr. Blue Sky here? Because this is my opinion on it is it doesn't taste like much.
It tastes like water.
It is a very unflavored beer. What kind of beer is this supposed to be? Is this a lager?
No, it's like a wheat.
American wheat brewed with coriander and grapefruit. Oh, we were so excited about this at the store.
I have to say, all of the Griffin
bland.
Claw beers that I've had are been pretty blah.
So it's as blah as Birmingham?
Yeah.
I won't be putting Griffin Claw in the show notes. Like I haven't been doing that. I should be doing that, but I'm not putting Griffin Claw in the show notes.
Yeah, well, if we were putting them in the other ones, that would be a
Two
threat.
thumbs
So
down.
Well, it's this is not a recommended beer. It's our first one.
It gets a half a thumb from me.
Yeah.
Half a thumb.
It's not gross.
It's not like up or anything, just a half a thumb.
It's not gross,
I'm going to
but
send it to him tomorrow. I'm going to prison.
Well, it's not your thumb. It's the thumb of the prison.
That's why I'm going to prison.
It's not gross or anything like that.
No,
Like,
it's not
yeah.
bad. It's just there's nothing
That's
to it.
not
It's
good.
It just it's if like there are a handful of beers out there where if you just said, "Here, this is beer," and you took a drink, you would say, "Yes, this is beer."
But this tastes like water.
It's braggy. This beer is braggy because it has a whole description of a beer that I can't taste.
It's certainly talking itself up,
Yeah.
but it is about as close to beer as Miller Lite.
You know, this beer sent me a message on the internet. It said, "Yo, you're hot. I got a big dick. Are you down?"
And
I
it was
was
just
down.
a regular sized dick.
I was down, but it was a regular sized dick. It was a
no
regular
girth,
sized dick.
no length. It's
Yeah.
just a dinger.
Yeah, it's not what I was
I
expecting.
think it might be smaller than average.
You think it's smaller than average?
Oh, yeah.
Smaller than average dick?
You
Yeah.
got to keep in mind that what we get in Michigan, we get a lot of microbrews.
Yeah, we get good
There
beer.
are a
but-
lot
So
of
how many
really
micro
good
penises do we
beers
get?
just in Michigan. Not every
But
state
you're
has
saying that Bud Light, Miller High Life is average.
No, I'm not. I did not say Bud Light. I said
shut-
Miller Light.
Yeah.
You shut your fucking mouth.
Oh wow.
Bud Light is hot garbage. That is just water.
Okay.
That is water with maybe some fizz.
Bud Light is like somebody gave me fizzy water and then peed in it just a little.
So
just a little.
Bud Light is to beer what LaCroix is to Pepsi.
Yes.
It's like if somebody
Yes.
were like yelling that you're drinking beer while you were actually just having some.
You ever have a
some
LaCroix
mineral
Cola?
water.
You ever had LaCroix Cola? It's the most disappointing half-ass.
If you've never been
drink.
sad about the things you're putting in your
I
mouth,
like LaCroix.
LaCroix's fine as its own thing.
LaCroix has its place. Bud
Yeah.
Light does not. Like, if you're going to fake a flavor, you do it with soft drinks, not with things that are supposed to get you
Yeah,
drunk.
the difference is LaCroix has 0 calories and
I
Bud
got
Light has like
embarrassed
80.
at Kroger with the amount of LaCroix cans I was returning one day. I mean, there's way more embarrassing cans to return.
Oh,
but,
yeah, like
but
Bud
I was,
Light.
But yeah, exactly. But I was like embarrassed by the amount of LaCroix cans I had.
What you
I was like,
homeless
I'm really
man-sized
fucking Ann
bags.
Arbor right
No, what you
now.
were experiencing,
I'm the most Ann Arbor you could get returning LaCroix cans at Kroger.
what you're experiencing is like the bougie version of somebody who feels like an alcoholic but isn't an alcoholic. Just had, you know, like
The difference is
felt too
Eric is
bougie.
an alcoholic.
Oh yeah, probably yeah.
yeah.
I
Well,
won't
bougie
deny
people
that.
are always alcoholics too. That's how they get by.
He drinks so that he can forget about how much LaCroix he
We also have
drank.
another beer that I'm kind of a fan of, but it's just like a regular lager. It's Beer Me by Oddside. It has nothing to do with the movie, but it comes in an 8-pack.
And has an eagle on
It has an eagle on it. It's pretty funny. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good. I like. How much was it for that 8-pack? I
Like
mean, I paid for it, but I don't know.
$9.
$9 for 8 beers. That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, it's a pretty high quality lager. It's,
I mean,
it's definitely
it's a
better
beer.
than a Miller Lite.
If somebody were like, "Here's a beer," and I drank it, I would be okay with it.
The label's incredible. It just says Beer Me. It has a tiny eagle
Yeah,
bottom.
there's no like bringing expectations up. It's
Right.
just like this is what I am. and
Literally,
this is
the
what's gonna
label
happen.
just says "Oddside Beer Me." That's it. It's a plain silver,
silver,
can. Otherwise,
yeah.
that is absolutely what Mr. Blue Sky should look like.
Yeah, it should basically
Yeah.
like I'm a beer.
I'm a beer.
If you
I
swapped,
Welcome.
I have alcohol. Drink
So-
this, and we're like, oh wow, well, this delivers exactly what it advertises.
it's beer.
Yeah.
We've been very meandering, and like Eric pointed out in how kind of all over the place we've been with talking about the movie. That's kind of how all of us have seen this movie.
Oh, yeah.
because we've seen bits and pieces of it over the course of our entire lives.
I've seen it all the way through maybe 3 times.
He held up
Maybe
2
3
fingers
times.
at first,
But I was
guys.
thinking about when I was a kid.
He held
I
up
watched it
2
one more time.
and then pulled one more up.
First time I can
recalculated.
remember ever watching this from start to finish was 2 days ago. So
I definitely watched this start to finish as a kid with my dad, without a doubt.
I used to
But
pick it up with my dad. Like maybe my dad was watching it and I walked into the room, but it was never start to finish.
my dad was the kind of guy who rented like Ernest movies, not movies, like Ernest commercial sampler VHS tapes, where it was like Ernest Mellow Yellow commercials or just Ernest skits. And he would rent George Carlin and we would watch that. And
I remember watching George Carlin with my dad.
Yeah.
But
So
Ernest has like one bit that he repeats for like everything he does.
I only know Ernest movies. I don't know his skits at all.
oh man, it's weird.
He's kind of like a funny like American Crocodile Dundee without any weapons. I don't know what Ernest is.
It's not an inaccurate description necessarily of Ernest, but he's a little more inept than Crocodile
Oh, yeah.
Dundee.
What was your favorite Ernest movie?
Ernest Goes to Camp.
Oh,
Yeah.
by
Oh,
far,
so
100%.
good. So good.
So we haven't hit on ground control. They bring him in, so they get this. Actually, this is a great scene. You're right. They send an intern to like go pick him up,
Yeah.
and then he's driving the car, this like convertible, against the green screen, which is just like hilariousness.
This dumb shit happening in the background, but they're talking and like you're not supposed to pay. Like it's,
And he's also, I don't think you guys picked up on the fact that he hits a biker,
yeah,
but he's also on the phone. This is like 1979. He's in a car. and
Car
he's-
phones have existed for a long
But it's not a car phone.
time.
It's like a legit.
No, that's what
like-
they looked like. The handsets looked like regular handsets.
no,
I
wrote,
disagree.
No,
Is that
it's
really?
true. Yeah, they existed like in the 40s, I think, and 50s. Like
There's
they're
like a whole
long-
like a
they're
horse
far
stampede
back.
behind them.
The first
Yeah,
car
yeah.
phone was used in St. Louis in 1946.
let's rush to this fucking thing.
Yeah, let's just
get through this thing. Listen, guys.
All right, hang on.
Listen. What a Disaster podcast. This is we might be releasing these out of order, but this is our 10th episode. This
This
movie's
is
a
the
tough
10th
one.
episode we've recorded.
Yeah.
We have a couple that are good, but the content is good, but the mess is strong with those. Yeah, so
All right, sorry.
The plane lands, everybody's fine, of course.
Yeah,
what
Ted
else are we
lands
going to
it.
do with it? Ted lands the plane.
Because we're all counting on him.
And Ted and Elaine, they do their, hey, oh, kissy, kissy. So good.
Yeah.
Well, the movie's fucking over. So we'll be back in just a minute with more. No, wait, no. We'll be back in a minute with our final thoughts on Airplane and our final reviews on the old scale there.
I won't deceive you, Mr. Stryker. We're running out of time.
Surely there must be something you can do.
I'm doing everything I can. And stop calling me Shirley.
Bad news. The fog is getting thicker. And Leon's getting larger.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your pilot speaking. We just need you to get those tray tables in the upright and locked position. As you can see, the seatbelt light is on. We'll be approaching Detroit Metro Airport here, and we'll be touching down in just a few minutes. Once again, we need all your electronic devices stowed and under the seat in front of you. Thank you very much. Welcome back to What a Disaster. We are about to close out here on our episode on Airplane.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through first. Should it be guests first? Or do you want to go first? Usually Richard goes first.
No, Richard's going first.
Richard, let's get your final thoughts and your little points there.
All right. I like this. I've always liked this movie. I've liked this movie since I was 6 years old. It was on like TNT. My grandparents raised me, and my grandfather would fall asleep on the couch around noon, and I would just watch TV unhindered, and I'd watch like Superman and Airplane, all these movies that were on repeat that were from like the early 80s. It's funny. It stays funny. There are some issues with it, but all those issues I can kind of look past because it's a product of its era. So I give it a 8.2 on the Richter scale.
All right.
Nice.
And Eric, what do you think? What did you like? What didn't you like?
So I have the same experience with this movie as Rick did. Was I grew up with it. It was just present in my life. It was always on Comedy Central. It was just on. I never watched it from start to finish. I didn't understand all the jokes that were being like presented to me. Rewatching it, there was a handful of jokes. I was like, oh, it's super funny, like whacking material, and there's porno mags, like super funny to me now. Like I don't know why that was funny. Probably because I didn't get it when I was a child. But there was a couple of jokes and I was like, ooh, that's a little off color and to be literal. A little, yeah. I was like, oh wow, I didn't get that. And then watching it in the political climate that we live in now, I was like, ooh, yeah, that's maybe not what is like feels a little off.
You're saying when Ted teaches a bunch of African tribes how to play basketball really quickly, he's like, oh, they learned it really quick. Haha, black people play basketball. That was a little bit off.
It felt a little uncomfortable, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
So
that was the worst joke. That was the one that hit the hardest.
Yeah, and there's a handful of those bad jokes, and there's a handful of really, really, really good jokes. I think it's a good movie artistically. I think it pushes things forward, and there's something to be said about the fact that a decade and a half after it was made, it was being played on repeat. And that you could just pick it up from anywhere, and that people from our generation grew up with this movie. So I think there's things that are very important about that. I think there's things that completely miss it. So rewatching it, I did not have the same like nostalgic, like funny, like feelings that I had growing up, but I'm glad I rewatched it. I don't know. I don't have like a point scale for it, but it was interesting. It was great. I'm glad I rewatched it, but I didn't have the same feeling that I had watching it as a child.
So a 7.5 on the Richter scale.
Yeah, sure.
There we
I feel
go.
I feels like a 7 something to me.
Yeah, that
You're
felt like a
basically
7
saying
something review.
this movie is artistic. It's relevant. It's good, but it has issues, and it doesn't influence you as hard as it used to.
Yeah, that's a great way to sum it up. I would say high 6, light 7.
All right,
buddy. I like that. I like your range. The high 6, light 7. That's good.
Yeah, not bad. I'm not going to judge you for it.
Everybody gets their own scale.
I mean, I'm going to judge you, but I'll keep it private.
Yeah. Well, that's a different scale that we use. That's the guest scale. And so far, Eric's getting a 3.2 on the guest scale, I think.
You gave what, a 3.2 on the
Eric's
guest? Eric's
3.2.
getting a 3.2 on the guest?
3.2 out of 3.2. Wow. All right.
Sorry.
So, as far as my take on it, I mean, I enjoyed it. It's a gag-driven movie without a doubt, and some of those jokes just they can't exist in a vacuum. But at the same time, like, people that were adults or could appreciate it when it came out versus me, who would never have been, like, that era means nothing to me outside of it existed. And then if people that were kids in the 90s and like 2000s watched that now, the different experiences would be dramatically different. So what, young millennials would find offensive, old millennials would be like, it was just a product of its time, versus that shit's funny from anybody that was kind of an adult in 80 through 85, basically. It knew what it wanted to be, and it did it as hard as it possibly fucking could. And I can appreciate that as well. The Zucker movies tend to know what they're doing, and that's fine.
I agree.
It can't exist in a vacuum, especially when you go back to old films, knowing the political climate at the time and what
art
was
doesn't
going on.
exist in a vacuum.
No, and it really
nor
can't.
should it.
But it tries to. People
this is
try
one
to-
of those
try to
movies
put
that
it
you
there.
really can't take it out of that. If somebody tried to remake that, or if that movie were made today, it would never happen. First of all, but they would be. I mean, every hashtag on the internet would have that thing shut down within fucking seconds.
Yeah.
I agree.
So outside of all that, the political and the off-color humor, obviously it's there. Dude, I'm a white dude, so most of that stuff doesn't hit me as negatively, and I can't understand it necessarily. But I do appreciate the weight of it. But yeah, as far as the movie itself is concerned and the time it came from, I enjoyed it just fine. I'd give it probably a 7.8 on the Gregster scale. That's fine.
I think it's the first movie I reviewed higher than you.
Yeah, I think that's true. I liked it. I like this kind of movie, but it's
close.
It's the first. Yeah. It really opened the floodgates for that style.
Yeah.
Which is great, but it wasn't the best of its. It's not the best of its genre. We'll go ahead and close her out now. So thanks for listening to another episode of What a Disaster. Thanks to Eric Opitz from Sisters of Your Sunshine Vapor for being here with us tonight. Thanks for drinking my beer, guys.
Thanks for buying.
We will,
beer.
of course, be back next week. And in the meantime, you can feel to check out our show notes online. Follow us on online. We're at whatadisasterpod.com. We are Podwad on Twitter. That's at Podwad on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook as What a Disaster. I think we're on Instagram even as WadPod. It's just, get in touch. You can subscribe to us on the iTunes and the Google Play.
Plays.
We do like that. And
all your favorite RSS
here's
feeds.
Here's a little surprise for everybody. If you really want to maybe hear yourself on our podcast, you can call and leave us a voicemail at our phone number here, 209-781-9113. 209-781-9113.
Ta-da.
All right. Thanks again, Eric, for being here with us. We'll get to you. We'll see you. We'll hear you. You'll hear us. Whatever it is later. Maybe call us. Give us a call.
Give us a call.
All right. Love you, Mom. Bye.
Bye.
I mean, we don't need to go, plot point by plot, beat by beat through this movie because there are a million. You got to stop.
You gotta stop.
Stop it! Ah! So you can't go beat by beat. We don't need. We would be on every single joke in this movie.
No,
and
no.
it would take us.
If you read
5
my
million
notes,
hours.
I took all.
Oh, you didn't want to keep going?
No, I'm
you stepped on me, so I figured.
Yeah,
you
Greg
keep
was
walking.
going and you got all on it.
I was.
No, I like to
you
step on
stepped
her.
on me. You kept walking. I figured you'd keep walking. You just standing right on me instead. You son of a bitch.
I quit the show.
Oh, fucking awesome! Now I can sell one of these microphones. You guys need any mics?
This is Greg by himself.
I just ordered 2 more. Welcome to What a Disasters. I'm your host, Greg.